A big story this hour. UK Vaccine Task Force Chair Kate Bingham has warned that the first generation of COVID-19 vaccines is likely to be imperfect and that they might not work for everyone. In a report published in a medical journal, Bingham said that people should be prepared as the initial vaccine may not prevent infection but rather reduce symptoms. She added that the vaccine might not work for everyone for long. UK Vaccine Task Force Chair said that chances are high that all COVID vaccines that are currently under trial may fail. She said that the global manufacturing capacity for vaccines is vastly inadequate for the billions of doses that are needed across the world. The warnings come as experts warn that a second global wave of COVID is likely to be deadlier than the first. Our London Bureau Chief, Mandy Clark, is live with us for more on this. Good evening to you, Mandy. Now, the UK Vaccine Task Force Chair, Kate Bingham, has warned that this generation, the first generation of vaccines for COVID, is not likely to be perfect and that it might not work for everyone. This is not very encouraging.
It's not very encouraging, but I think what it speaks to is realism, that there is so much hope pinned on finding that magic bullet that's going to solve the coronavirus pandemic. And in truth, when it comes to finding vaccines, it is very much a work in progress when it comes to any vaccine. And the first generations is often not perfect. And in all likelihood, they will have to adapt, and they'll be likely members of the community that this won't work at all for. So I think it's really about managing expectation, because there has been an overwhelming feeling by Christmas that there will be a cure. And I think what she's really saying is a vaccine is a vaccine and it's a generation, but it's not a cure. And what's interesting to point out is the Spanish flu, which is often compared to the coronavirus, was a disease that killed many in Western Europe after World War II. It's still around. It just has modified. So in all likelihood, the coronavirus won't necessarily die out completely. It might just mutate. So it's just looking at the reality of the vaccine, and that we might not have that silver bullet, that magic cure that everyone's hoping for. It's a progress.
Mandy, you mentioned the Spanish flu and also the normal flu. There have been big rollouts around the world for normal flu vaccines. She's saying that this vaccine might not work for everyone or for long. We've seen some of the big vaccine makers have to pause their testing for things going wrong. Take us through some of the latest vaccine updates.
So, of course, there was that Oxford vaccine that lots of people were certainly here pinning a lot of hope on. We saw there was a death in the trial. Now that trial has resumed, but it certainly deflated the feeling that this could be the answer. There's lots of different vaccines happening elsewhere, but it's just that when it goes through the initial phase testing in the laboratory and it moves to that clinical trials, that's where we're seeing the hiccups, the issues when it's put into live patients. Now, there is even testing of vaccines where they're putting the coronavirus into healthy subjects to see if that vaccine is working. So there is a number of different trials that are happening, but we are not seeing one currently standing out of the crowd as the answer. But the testing is still ongoing with varied and different results.
Right, and Mandy, just lastly, we are hearing that experts are warning that a second wave of COVID is likely to be deadlier than the first one. What are they attributing this to?
The fact that the immunity doesn't seem to be lasting as long. So during the summer, the doctors saw that the people who were infected with coronavirus had those antibodies, but some antibodies stay in your system for a very long time. These don't seem to be lasting as long. So the people that had coronavirus before might have it again. There is a tiring or a waning of desire to stick to those really rigid lockdown rules. So in all likelihood, people are more likely to break it. There's going to be a higher amount of people getting coronavirus, and we still don't have a cure. And that herd immunity that they were hoping for doesn't seem to be in the cards, because the antibodies are just not lasting in those people who have had it before.